Good morning. Get myself situated. Get some coffee. Yay, always helpful. Good morning, everyone. Hi, it is Stacy, and we are loving my veteran and walking in my shoes this morning. Let's grab some coffee and get our day started here. I know I'm a minute late getting on, but y'all should be used to that by now. Let me turn my phone ringer off. So it's time for a little bit of coffee. Drinking at Good morning, Pamela. Drinking out of my tink cup that says it is all about me. That's kind of where we're going to be today. It is all about me today. It is about us. That's where we are. I have another sip or two of coffee, Pamela. Let's let a few people get on here this morning. We had a great Zoom last night. Of course, Zoom will be available for us tonight and tomorrow night as well, for anybody who's going through some tough times, kind of needs some redirection on where we need to go. It was a great time. We just kind of rebooted for a little bit, and talked and did us, and it was very nice. So just so y'all know that, need us, join us for Zoom tonight. The links are on the pages. So today, August 31st deadline has come and gone. The situation is what it is. It's been a tough weeks for us, and it doesn't mean that it's not going to get easier. You know, we have 9/11 coming up, and all these other things coming forward. So it is what it is. But we can't sit here and wallow in this anymore. We have to be able to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and move forward. You know, I was talking to Carl this morning, and I said, he said, "What's today's topic?" And we were talking, and I thought about this. 20 years ago today, September 11th was just a date on the calendar. It was actually September 11th. We knew that day existed. It was just a day on a calendar. People had birthdays planned and parties planned and dinners planned and events planned, and that morning it became 9/11. So why there was a terrorist attack on that particular day that forever changed most of our lives, it was just another day prior to that. 20 years ago today, it was just another day. So we can't live in this constant fear that what's going to happen, and we need to remember, because we learn from the past, but we need to remember, and we need to be able to go on, and we need to be able to move forward as we do this. But we also need to be vigilant, because that is what we need to do. But we can't just live here. We can't live in this moment. We can't go back to, we've made so many steps forward. Most of us have made huge strides forward in our relationships with our veteran and not walking on eggshells. And we've all been kind of tiptoeing around the past 10 days or so. We've all felt our own anxiety. We've all felt all this stuff going on inside of us. But it is time that we just get up and dust the dirt off of our butts and move forward. We can't live in this, because we can't let fear, that's what terrorism is, by the way, fear, terror is fear. We can't let fear control our lives. We can't let PTSD control our lives. PTSD is part of our life, absolutely. We live with it every day. It is part of our life. It is something that we have in our lives every single day, and we live with PTSD in our lives. Yes. Does it control it? No. Same thing with fear. Do we have moments of fear and anxiousness? Absolutely. Do those moments need to control our lives? No, they don't. And that's where we have to start getting to. We have to get to the point that today is the day we decide we're going back to moving forward. Y'all know that I am a firm believer that walking on eggshells is one of the top things that ruin our relationships with our veterans, especially those with PTSD and a TBI. We cannot let walking on eggshells, because then we no longer become good for ourselves, because we are so busy walking on eggshells that we forget what we needed, because it's all about them. And I can't feel this way, or I can't share this, or I can't do this. I can't because, so we do this and we walk on these eggshells and we lose who we are along the way, which is a terrible thing. We lose who we are along the way, and our entire relationship changes because we've walked on these eggshells and we have no communication. We don't discuss how we feel. We don't understand why PTSD controls our lives. It's because everybody's walking on eggshells. And we can't do that. You can't live your life that way. I think about a young man that I had the pleasure of seeing, and this young man was born with cerebral palsy, and he couldn't walk. I mean, he was on the little canes and whatever, and I had the honor of seeing him play a football game. This kid couldn't walk. He couldn't run. He crawled. Okay? He crawled. Everywhere he went. Devon Berry's his name. You can look him up. Devon Berry crawled everywhere he went. Okay, and so, good morning, Nikia. So here's Devon, who is born with this by all intents and purposes, life-changing, crippling disease, and this kid wanted to play football. And so he goes out and he goes to the weight room and he lifts weights and he does, and he has this heart, and he moves forward, and he crawls literally on his hands and his knees and walks out that way, crawls out there and goes and gets the coin at the coin toss. This kid overcame. He played the line. This was great. He played football and he was on the line at that end zone at that one and goal situation because he was so short that he could stop the players from going forward. He ended up with a scholarship to Minnesota, and he now works for the Houston Texans. That's who he works for. So Devon Berry didn't let his cerebral palsy take control of his life, just like we can't let PTSD, TBI take control of ours. Just like we can't let fear, terrorism take control of our life. Do we have to do things differently? Absolutely. Are we going to have to do things differently going forward? Absolutely. Are things going to be tougher for a little bit? Absolutely. But we can't go backwards. We have to move forward. We can't get stagnant. You know, I live in Southeast Georgia. So every pond here is covered in this scum, right? And it's from stagnant water. Now, it's not so bad this year because we've had a lot of rain, so the rain stirs it up. But typically this time of the year, there is this thick layer of scum everywhere. And it's from stagnant water. And you know what breeds out of stagnant water? Mosquitoes breed in stagnant water. It's horrible. But when we become stagnant, we don't move, we don't grow, and we're not healthy anymore. So we can sit here and say, you know what? The last 10 days or so, the last 2 weeks, the whole Afghanistan thing, we've all been in a place, we didn't watch TV, we didn't talk, we didn't communicate, we've let our veteran do this, we've done this, we've wanted them to have their space, we've walked on eggshells, nobody wants to trigger anybody. And here's the reality is we stop and we become stagnant. The reality is that's what we do. We become overwhelmed, we stop, we become stagnant, and we forget all the things that we created. All the boundaries that we created to protect ourselves. You know, boundaries aren't rules, they're boundaries. They protect us. And we've crossed those and moved those back and forth over and over and over again, and we just can't keep doing that. It's time that we get up, dust off our ass, and move forward. Because I'm here to tell you, there's going to be another day on a calendar that we just think is a day. Okay, that right now you look at a calendar and you're like, well, you know, hey, this is going to be October 21st or whatever day you choose. You know, this is what we have planned and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. You know, most of us live by our day planners or by our calendars on our phone. And so we schedule events. And at some point, something tragic is going to happen to somebody on that date, and that will become a date. Just like 20 years ago, 9/11 was just a day on a calendar. So this is where we have to start getting. This is where we have to move forward. How do you pick up the pieces now? How do we go back to taking that first step? Well, most of us have been down that road with step number one. Okay, go back to yourself. My teacup, it's all about me. It's all about me. It needs to be about you. In the words of Carl, my very intelligent veteran who shares more with me, good morning, BJ, who shares more with me than I am just so blessed to have, because he allows me to be able to do this by giving me the knowledge that I have. Somebody said, how do you get this? I don't have it on my own. It's not something that somebody just dropped in my head. It's because Carl shares with me on a daily basis. We are not good for anybody if we're not good for ourselves first. So that's where we start today. We start becoming good for ourselves first today. Go back to those boundaries that protect you. Decide that today is the day I'm going to be good for myself first. I got up early this morning. I had a conversation with Michelle this morning. I wasn't running late with my hair all funked up and wet and whatever, sliding in here at the last second. I was late getting on here because I was actually spending time with Carl this morning. Right? I was good for myself first. I had a shower. I put makeup on. I felt like a human being. I was good for myself first. Okay, so that's where I started my morning. I sat there and I watched a few minutes of the news. I'm like, this is depressing. I watched enough to understand what I needed to know. I was like, this is depressing. This is depressing. There's a lot going on in the world. Yeah, I needed to know it. Got to move on. Got the facts. Needed to be aware of what I needed to be aware of. But I had to be good for myself first. It was time for me to take control. It was time for me to decide today is about me getting me back. That was the first step. And that's going to be the first step. When I learned to take control of me back. So that's where we need to be today. We need to be concentrating on, hey, it's time we get ourselves back. It's time we start pushing out the negative crap and we start getting ourselves back. What is good for you? For me, I have things I do. I get up in the morning, I drink my coffee. I drink my coffee with Michelle. We either FaceTime or we're on the phone together. We do it every single morning. Every morning we do that. That is my time alone by myself. I do it every morning. Other than the weekends, I do it every morning. And we did. And so I went back to that today. Michelle and I made a point to go back to that today. And we did that this morning, and we talked, and we felt so much better. And I'm like, you know what? I can get through my day, because it was about me for a few minutes. It wasn't about a veteran. It wasn't about, and I love you people. It wasn't about loving my veteran. It wasn't about Carl. It wasn't about Damon. It wasn't about anybody. It was about us. And I got to take care of me first. And I know that sounds selfish maybe, but it's not. It's self-preserving. So we did that. Got on a new pair of shorts today. Quite nice and comfy for a change. Having coffee. Enjoying me. Yes, I have a lot to do today. Absolutely. But you know what? It's still about me and my boundaries today. And that's what I'm getting back. That's what I'm accepting. That's the deal I'm going to take care of today, because that's the first step. The absolute first step in going forward. The first step, and for those of you who are not where we were at on our journey, or where Carl and I are at on our journey, or where Nakia is at in her journey, or where Pamela is at in her journey, those of us who've done this for a very long time will all tell you we have to find ourselves first. Find it. Find it first. Make today about you. You can't be good for anybody else if you're not good for yourself first. Do that. Do that today. That's going to be your first step. Are we going to live in fear? We probably are. There's going to be things we're going to be fearful of. Think about those poor people in Louisiana. There was a lot of fear there. There was a lot of fear there. I had fear for 20 hours when I didn't hear from my friend Wendy that the eye went right over their house. Wendy, by the grace of God, is fine. Her family is fine. They are okay. They have a lot of trees down. But that's what's going on. He goes, we can't forget about what is and has happened. However, if we get our feet stuck, we can't move forward. Taking care of us will do that. Absolutely, you can't forget that. We shouldn't forget that. We never forget. We never forget. You keep all that in, but you can't dwell in that moment. My daddy was the love of my life. The absolute love of my life. I think about my daddy every day, all the time. My daddy's died 16 years ago. I could still sit there in that state of depression that I was in when he first died for 16 years, but where would it have gotten me? Now I go back and I look at it and I think, wow. My mom said to me the other day, she said, your dad would be so proud of what you're doing. Your dad would be so proud of you. So I could have sat here and wallowed in my own pity and not taking care of me and not moving forward, and I would still be sitting in that state of depression, locked up in a room, just crying my eyeballs out. But I don't. I move forward. I move forward. I think about Nakia so much and about how their roles have changed, right? And how their situation has changed. And I think about how she could sit here more than anybody and say, I just can't do this anymore. But you know what she doesn't? Richard might sleep 16, 18 hours a day. But you know what? The hours he's awake, she cherishes more. She cherishes those moments. She was on with us last night and she said, y'all, I got to get out of here. We got to have an early night. I hate wrestling, but Richard's watching it and I'm going to go lay down next to him. What did she do? She put herself, because she feels peace when she's with him. She feels that peace when she's with him. She put that above anything else. She took care of Nakia first. She needed a recharge. It's kind of amazing what happens when you do that. It's amazing what happens when you start putting yourself and your mental well-being first. I'm not talking about going out and buying a ton of clothes or getting your nails done. If that's your thing, go ahead and do it. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about mentally getting yourself in that right mindset. Mentally realizing you're worth it. Mentally realizing that your marriage is worth it. Mentally realizing that your veteran is worth it. Mentally realizing that your love is worth it. Mentally getting it together and saying, I deserve all this. That's where we need to be today. That's where we need to be today. That's where we need to be to go forward, to pick up those pieces. We need to pick up those pieces and gather those pieces and move forward. That's where we need to be today. See, we know there's going to be challenges. We know we're going to have anniversary dates that come up. We know we're going to have trigger dates that come up. We know that as the scenes continue to unfold, there's going to be more that's going to come up. But we can either choose to sit where most of us have sat, because I have read over and over, and I was part of it, y'all. We were part of it. We were part of it. Okay? You can't put yourself on that back burner anymore, Meredith. You've got to put yourself first. You are not good for anyone if you don't take care of you first. Right? You have to get yourself together first. I can love all these people, and I do. I love my veteran more than anything. I do. But I can't give him the love he deserves if I can't take care of me first. You understand what I'm saying? I can't give my veteran the love he deserves if I can't take care of me first. Because when I don't take care of me, y'all, I am bitter. I am angry. I spew venom. I am a bitch. I am hateful. Good morning. I am mentally icky, horrible, if I don't take care of me first. And so I become this venom spewing, hateful, resentful bitch that I don't even like, okay? So I can't imagine why he would like me. I do that when I don't take care of me first mentally. When I'm not in a good place mentally, I can't go forward. I can't give him the love he deserves. I turn into a bitch. Nobody deserves to be yelled at. Nobody deserves to be said the things that I say to Carl. Look, y'all, I'm telling you, you think I'm kidding. We were talking last night about some of the most hateful things we've ever done. Some of the most hateful things we've ever done. And I'm going to let Nakia share her own stories, okay? But let me tell you something. One of the most hateful, hurtful things I ever did to him was we were talking about something and he said, this comes from my pastoral experiences. I was so sick and tired of hearing it. I got up, I walked across the room, I turned a chair around and I sat it down and I looked at it, I said, hey, look, here's your ex. Welcome to our home because you seem to be controlling our lives, right? You want to talk about it? Hello. Hello. That was the most hateful thing I've probably ever done. How was that showing him love? You know, we all get so caught up on, oh my God, they can't have sex with us. Oh my God, they won't do this. How much do we mentally love them? Or how much do we mentally show them we love them too? So, you know, there's a lot to this. But we got to love ourselves first. It's not selfishness, it's self preservation. And in order to have a good, strong, healthy relationship, I didn't know this, y'all. I've only known this in the last few years. In order to have a good, strong, loving, healthy relationship, I loved him. Ain't no doubt. I loved him, but we couldn't have a good, strong, healthy relationship if I didn't learn to love me first. The very first time that Carl said something to me, and he went out and sat in the garage in the house we had, he went out and sat in the garage and I'm like, what are you doing? He says, I'm going here. I said, but I need you. He says, look, I gotta get my head together. And I'm going out here to take care of me because if I can't be good for me, I can't be good for you. I was like, well, ain't that some shit? I should come first. Well, what I didn't realize at the time was that I was coming first. He was putting me first. Okay? He was putting me first, but in order to put me first, he had to take care of him first. Now, I know that sounds weird and it sounds like a contraindication, but it's not. It's not. I will put him first. But I can't put him first if I'm not first in my own head for me first. Does that make sense? No, probably not. I'll be like, what the hell is this woman saying? I can't show him the love he deserves if I can't be right in my own headspace. So that's the day it is today. It's about getting up, taking care of you, getting yourself to move forward. We can't sit here in this muck any longer. It is time. I'm not saying come in like a bull in a china shop. I'm saying let's start. Here we go. Let's take a hold of each other. Let's pull each other along and say, we've got this. Let's go, sisters. We got this. We're going to get through this. We can handle this. You matter to me. You need to matter to yourself. You need to matter to yourself first. That's what we need to say. You need to matter to yourself first. Take care of you. Okay? Because when you get your mental health straight, just exactly what Nakia said, when you get your mental health straight and you are no longer spewing out anger and venom and resentment and negativity, your whole face changes. You know, I find it funny because there's days that people come on and go, oh my God, you look better. You look so good today. And I'm like looking in the mirror when I put my makeup, I'm like, ooh, I can't get my shit straight. It looks horrible. It's not that. It's my mental well-being is right. My mental well-being is right. And when my mental well-being is right, I project a positive energy. We all do when our mental well-being is right. So that's where I'm telling you today. That's where we need to be today. Take the time today to get yourself right. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. If it's a walk, take it. If it's a bath, take it. If it's reading, take it. If it's doing a devotional, take it. If it's getting into the Word, take it. If it's doing yoga, have fun with that. I can't stretch like that. If it's, I went out, we had so much to do yesterday, and Carl was out cutting trees down and working on the motorhome, and I went outside yesterday to talk to him about something, and I realized that the back patio looked like doo-doo, and we live in the south, so everything gets like this funky green stuff all over it, like algae grows on the walls, everything. Well, I cleaned the living room really good, and I couldn't see out the windows because there was like this green slime everywhere. Okay, and the pressure washer was outside. I was like, you know what? It ain't gonna take me but a few minutes. I went outside and I got him to start the pressure washer for me because he always does it on the first one for me because I can do it once it's been started once. And I took the pressure washer and I went out and I soaped down the house. on the backside and the deck and the patio. And y'all, I can't imagine all the junk that came up off of it. But you know what I did? I went outside and I looked at it later. I was like, wow, this looks really good. I accomplished this. I felt good. So you have to be able to do this, right? You have to be able to do this. And so Nakia says here, you've heard the old saying that if you give them an inch, they will take a mile. Well, that's what it's like with our veteran. We've enabled them not to be more than they are because we're tired. Because we're tired, we try to be everything to them instead of helping them be what they want to be. And that is so true. That is so true. You know, that becomes that cycle I talk about, and Nakia talks about it, and we all say the same thing. So you're not in a good place mentally, and you're not confident in who you are. So now you walk on eggshells because God forbid we trigger them. But once you really understand when you're good for yourself, you're not going to trigger them because you're not, or as much. We walk on eggshells, right? Because we don't want to trigger them. But in reality, at this point, when you keep walking on eggshells, you get in this really bad funk. And you get in this really bad funk, and then the venom starts spewing. And you know that's not good for anybody. So what happens then? We enable behaviors. They enable behaviors because by God, we're walking on eggshells. Ooh, don't upset them, right? Don't upset them. I can remember when people have babies, this just blows my flipping mind. First of all, if you ever want to know how loud your insides are, take a stethoscope and put them down about where that baby would be up inside your stomach, and you hear all that noise, a really good stethoscope. It is really loud. So then we bring this new baby home, right? We put the new baby into bed, and we're like, shh, quiet. I mean, I've seen people like hang signs on their freaking doorbell. Don't ring the doorbell, the baby is sleeping. Okay, I put my kids down and I grabbed the vacuum cleaner. I vacuumed under the crib, around the crib, in the crib, over them where they were sleeping. I had the music on. You know what? I never had a problem with my kids sleeping if there was noise because I didn't enable them or allow them. I never taught them that it had to be quiet, that it had to be quiet for them to sleep. So what happens? We now walk on eggshells because God forbid we don't want to upset them. So now we're getting angry and we're getting all of this resentment build up inside of us, right? Because we're angry because we're walking on eggshells. So now we're doing this because we don't want to trigger them, and all this crap is going on. And then we spew venom, which is worse than what we've ever done before, right? Girl, I think I'll be the world record holder in some of these. We're gonna be standing up on the gold medal thing together. See, we do this, and then it becomes an enabling behavior, not only to them but to ourselves. Okay, so now we have gone from not being confident in who we are to walking on eggshells, and this because that's where that comes from. Walking on eggshells comes from us not taking care of ourselves and putting ourselves mentally in the right place. That's where walking on eggshells comes from, because we become this, oh my God, if I don't upset him, things won't get bad, and I won't cry, and he won't have a PTSD moment, and I can't really do what I want to do because, and so now we're not in a good place because we're brought ourselves down to the middle of nowhere. So let's get past that, get mentally in the right place, and stop walking on your darn eggshells, because all that does is enable PTSD to take control of our lives, ours and theirs. When you walk on eggshells, you allow it to kind of do its thing, and it festers, and then it becomes manipulation on both parts. They have, because they've enabled, we've let it all kind of happen here, right? We've all kind of let this thing happen, them and us. It's not one-sided or the other. Now we're both enabling this PTSD to take total control of our lives and our situation. And we've enabled this behavior to go on. And now it becomes manipulation. And see, what happens is they know how to manipulate us, because it becomes, well, you know, look, I'm going to sit here. And I know that if I say that I might be triggered or act a little weird, they're going to do whatever I ask them to do, right? So that's what happens. And then we want a certain reaction from them because we want to do whatever. We know how to push them buttons. Y'all, I'm the speed dial queen. I could push a button in a heartbeat. That easy button that they had at Staples, y'all, I would break that thing. This is easy, this is easy, this is easy. This is what happens. This is what happens. And it's not one side or the other, it's all of us together. And it starts simply, though. The way to break this cycle isn't, we're just going to come in like a bull in a china shop and break it, because you're not. You're going to have an explosion that you never thought you'd ever have if you just come in and start screaming things. You're going to have the worst explosion you've ever had. Start taking care of yourself mentally first. When you do that, you mentally get yourself together, you're going to realize that the venom doesn't come out. When you get yourself together mentally, that venom isn't coming. I only spew venom when I'm not mentally in a good place. I'm telling you the truth now. I only spew venom when I'm not mentally in a good place. And when I start spewing the venom, Carl looks at me and goes, "You're wound." I'm like, "No, I'm not." And he's like, "Yes, you are." I'm like, "No, I'm not." And we go back and forth. And he's like, "Yes, you are. You're overwhelmed and you're wound." "No, I'm not. You don't even know me." And out comes the venom. And I was wound. And that's the truth. So this is our challenge today. We have a lot going on in this world. And you know what? We're going to continue to have a lot going on in this world. We're going to have a lot going on in our lives every day. We're going to have a lot going on in this world. We're going to get closer and closer to 9/11, which are triggers for some of us. Me, probably more so than Carl, hands down. Me, probably more so than, and he'll tell you that. Me, probably more so than him, hands down. All these things are going to happen. But all these things always happen. All these things always happen. We just can't stop living. So today's the day. Get mentally right. Today's the day to get your head right. Today's the day to get you right. Because you need to be good for yourself before you can be good for anybody else. Girl, I wish you'd say something other than I'm wound. He is learning to say I'm uptight or overwhelmed. He's working on that. But he also, after our conversation this weekend, he's learned that's the different way we deal with our own PTSD and our overwhelmness. He has boxes and he opens the little crack and he takes the little piece out and he deals with it and he puts it back in the box. Then he opens the next box and he takes it out and he deals with it and puts it back in the box. I call it the boxes that sit in the boxes of avoidance is what I call it, but that's not really what he's doing. I used to call it that before I was too dumb to understand the difference. All I want to do is take the boxes and shake them on the floor. Okay, not me. I'm like, oh, let's see, I'm a little overwhelmed. Well, let me distract myself with this and this and this. The next thing you know, I got 45 projects and I am completely overwhelmed. And he just looks at me and says, "Can you file that shit in a file cabinet?" And then I go back to like I used to do with my boss years ago. They're like, "Oh, the managers come and the owners come and make sure that everything is cleaned up." Y'all, I had a desk drawer that was called working. Literally, I'm not lying to you, it was called working. I opened the desk drawer and everything that was on my desktop, because I have piles everywhere. If y'all see my desk, you'd understand. I have piles everywhere. I can find anything you want. It's in a pile. Don't touch my piles. Carl tried to help me clean up and he'll move my piles. That's not good. But I had a drawer. I just pulled it and I wiped all that shit in there. That was how I dealt with it. He doesn't. But it's different. So yeah, he does say wound, and I think that's hysterical because we deal with things differently. And you'll learn that as you go. Anyway, that's where we are today. I just had to share this because I just think it's time we go forward. I just think it's time we stop dwelling in the past. I think it's time that we stop walking on these eggshells. I think it's time that we take care of us. If y'all need us, you know we are here. Reach out to us. This is what we do. We share our stories. We're not professionals. We can't give you what the paper says, but I'm going to tell you what. I have found one thing about the paper, okay? I can tell you about the paper that they pass out to you. It is as useless as one-ply toilet tissue. Really. These people have never walked in my shoes. They don't know. I haven't walked in each one of yours exactly. I don't know. But we all share something in common. We live with the PTSD. And that's where we are. So I'm Stacy. This has been Walking in My Shoes, and we are loving my veteran. Y'all have a blessed day. Bye.